This is the business of pop culture, where we explore the intersection of entertainment, media, and consumer engagement. Hi, Julia. So this week we are going to be talking about AI again. We're talking about AI a lot at the moment, but it is the trend of the moment. And we've seen how AI has infiltrated the art world with things like Midjourney and DALL-E, but it's also infiltrating the music world. And there's been a lot of controversy recently over an AI-created track that purported to be a collaboration between Drake and The Weeknd, and it went viral when it turned out that it was actually made by AI. It used machine learning algorithms trained on the voices of Drake and The Weeknd to create an entirely new track that they had no hand in. And Spotify was actually forced to take it down in the end. And this isn't the only sort of AI-created controversy we've seen recently. There's a band called analyse who in lockdown produced a bunch of songs in the style of Oasis and then used an AI trained on Liam Gallagher's voice. So really sort of bringing an old band back from the dead. And then finally, recently, an artist called Patton has used a text-to-music AI software called Refusion to create an entire album just by typing in prompts for the sort of sounds that he wanted to hear. The algorithm then creates them, drawing from sounds in its database. So it's scraped lots of music across the internet. And The Guardian said, he's dredged the past just as Burial or Madlib do with their sampling, but the twist is that he's taking from records that haven't been made by humans, but rather imagined by machines. So we're in a kind of strange space where we're not really sure where music is heading and whether it's going to be, as The Guardian says, the death of pop music made by humans.
That's quite dramatic, isn't it? I think another interesting note on just the entire idea of generative AI in the creative arts and things that people are actually expected to consume as an audience. The Avengers Endgame director, Joe Russo, suggested that one application of this that people could just generate a rom-com for themselves and Marilyn Monroe. No, I don't know. I mean, I think that's either revenge porn or fan fiction at the very least. And I think that is interesting, the idea of this being the fanficification of music. Is this just about handing people the tools to create that particular specific kind of flavor that they and their 8 friends on Tumblr might be interested in just for the joy of it?
I think the fan fictionication of music is interesting because there are two sides to this. Obviously, there is the way that AI is being used by music producers in tools that enable them to improve their work. So there's a lot of plugins out there that analyze your music tracks and suggest the best settings. So there's companies like Ozone and Sonable who are producing these plugins. On the other hand, you have this more, as you say, sort of consumer-facing, listener, fan-facing AI application where you are essentially creating music from a database of other people's sounds. These sort of fan-facing AI machine learning software tools are scraping MP3s, essentially, whatever is out there on the internet. So as you see with Patton, the sound that he gets, the album that he's created is very compressed, quite poor quality sound. And there's a potential future here of music which sounds like it's made by AI, having its own aesthetic, having its own musical aesthetic, which is sort of poor quality. It's a bit like Vaporwave from a few years ago, which was a music genre which kind of tapped into nostalgia for sort of naff 80s internet digital styles.
So there's interesting potential here for a talent incubation system and for music to catch up to the huge creativity that's already being shared online without first having to come to this professionalism level.
I mean, we've seen the same thing happening with art through platforms like Midjourney, where the industry is starting to fight back. The art industry is now using software that will block AI from scraping their data. So I think we'll probably see the same from the music industry, which is, as we know from years of file sharing battles, a very litigious industry. Now, the other implication is that artists will embrace this software. Grimes this week responded to this Drake Weeknd controversy by announcing on Twitter that anyone can use her voice to create AI music and she'll share 50% of the profits that anyone makes. So she's quite open to her voice being remixed and manipulated and used and turned into something completely new.
I mean, it's very Grimes of Grimes to instantly open herself up to any kind of new Web3 venture. I do think actually what you were just saying there about, Grimes letting other people use her voice, has an interesting point of contention about using somebody else's voice to then create art. Because last year we had the virtual artist FN Mecca, who was a rapper initially signed by Capitol Records, a virtual character presented as a black man, but created by a creative agency that's headed by two white people. And that entire proposal sparked huge conversations about digital blackfacing and actually appropriating a musical and creative culture that's come from lived experience. And does this not just mean that we're divorcing art from being a vehicle of communication between two humans?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key point. The question remains, is there value without human input? Well, the new generation who are growing up with these, and this is going to become their contemporary music, this is going to become the stuff that they listen to on a daily basis, will they care?
I think there is definitely potential here for a sort of creative incubation space, not unlike fan fiction, for instance. I mean, companies like Wattpad are building a whole business out of using user-generated fan fiction to then find new tropes that are going to become interesting for the professional end of publishing.
So, I mean, from my perspective, I think the future of music is quite bright. We're in a golden age of music software for real creators, but we're also starting to move into a golden age of fan creation tools. It's just about ensuring, I suppose, that the artists agree. Like Grimes, maybe we'll end up with a kind of split world of AI artists and old school artists, and the two will never meet. I think it's a very interesting space. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting innovation coming out of this, and it's definitely one to watch. So thank you for that, Julia, and we will talk again next week.